how the campaign to stop smoking in the United States ruined American politics. Welcome to the LunchBox Devotions. I'm Pastor Russ Yoke, and thanks for spending lunch with me. Please understand, when I say that the campaign to stop people from smoking ruined American politics, I'm not necessarily advocating for smoking. In fact, I would very clearly advocate against smoking. It's a terrible idea. It's awful for your health. It costs a lot, and it is just a bad idea all around. Not that I didn't smoke when I was younger. I was very stupid, and I don't recommend it to people. However, it was the campaign to end smoking here in the United States that had a very distinctive, unexpected side effect. Over the years, a number of campaigns were started, funded, researched, carried out, and then studied some more, trying to get people to stop smoking. I remember when I was a kid, they had brought this machine into our classroom. They poked a cigarette that was lit in one side of the machine. They ran air through it, and then when the machine clicked off, they would open up the casing on the machine, and you would see the cotton that was inside the machine that had caught all of the cigarette ash and tar and smoke and had turned it black and unpleasantly smelling. And of course, the message was, when you smoke cigarettes, this is what happens to the inside of your lungs. They tried campaigns aimed at pulling your heartstrings and showing you images of mourning families who had lost their loved ones and who were weeping over their graves, and discovered that was equally, more or less, totally and completely ineffectual. We really already understood that mourning and sorrow are going to occur, and most people, quite frankly, did not react in any way, shape, or form to the notion of their loved ones weeping over their grave, at least not enough people that those TV campaigns were considered even slightly successful. So trying to educate people had not succeeded in getting the mass number of Americans to stop smoking. Maybe you were one of those few people that saw the demonstration, slapped yourself in the forehead, and said, "What was I thinking? That's a terrible idea." Congratulations, you're one of the few. The campaign to get people to stop smoking by pulling at their heartstrings and showing them how people would react to the loss of life that was inevitable as a result of smoking did not result in an appreciable change in people's behavior. If you were one of those few individuals that saw those campaigns and thought, I can't stand the thought of my loved ones mourning my death, I'll quit smoking, congratulations, you were one of the few. It wasn't until they said, well, we can't educate people and we can't make people sad. Let's try a different emotional tactic. And so they started doing commercials that dealt with the fact that the cigarette companies rather knowingly had not only created a product that was dangerous to their consumers, but had consistently done things to make the product more addictive, while knowing that it simultaneously made the product more dangerous. And so they began a series of campaigns aimed at making people angry. And what they discovered is that people were motivated to stop smoking if they believed that big tobacco was, and of course this is an entirely valid point, if they believed that big tobacco was in fact selfishly trying to make profits at the loss of health and welfare of their customers. In other words, to make people quit smoking, all you had to do was make them very, very angry. The program was an enormous success, and they saw overnight drops in the number of people in the United States who smoked, which really was a landmark event. The problem was unintended consequences are part of almost everything that humans ever invent. When somebody invents a marvelous technology that allows us to generate massive quantities of energy that can be used to produce electricity, someone will think of a way to turn it into a bomb. When someone comes up with a way to get people to quit smoking by making people very, very angry at the people who produce cigarettes, one of the unintended consequences is that campaign commercial makers stepped back and said, well, we're dealing with a similar problem. We've tried to motivate our voters to vote by giving them information. We've been doing it this way for the last couple of centuries. We've tried to motivate our voters by pulling at their heartstrings and playing them patriotic music and showing them waving flags and letting them see their campaign in the most patriotic and heartwarming of tones. But we have had a hard time getting voters to come out. By the way, this is an odd element to American democracy. The person who wins in our elections is not necessarily the person who convinces people that their political point of view is the right one. It's the candidate that convinces people to actually come out and vote. Americans vote in shockingly low percentages. In fact, amongst Western countries with democracy, our people are less likely to physically come out to vote than almost any other grouping that you might want to look at. Americans need to come out and share their voices in the vote. And so they said, hey, let's create commercials that instead of trying to educate people and instead of trying to pull at their sentiment, let's make them very, very angry at the opponent. And this became the standard that campaign commercials began to follow. Think about the last time you saw a campaign commercial on television or on the radio or on the internet that focused exclusively on the platform, the plan, and the campaign promises of the candidate that did not attempt to make you angry at their opponent. And I think you're going to find there are not a lot of examples of that. In fact, we live in a world right now where politically we are divided by, well, party, by ideology, but also by marketing. Thanks to the campaign designed to get Americans to stop doing the unhealthy thing of smoking, we have now changed the face of American politics. And so we vote sometimes almost exclusively based on how much we dislike our particular candidate's opponent. And that's quite intentional. And that's human nature. They simply tied into the fact that humans are by nature wrathful creatures. And there's a reason that God addresses this over and over again. In St. Paul's letter to the Romans in the 12th chapter, he says, "Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave room for the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. No, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink. For by doing this, you will heap burning coals on their head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil by good." We forget this lesson all the time, don't we? And of course, the anger that has pervaded American conversation, discussion, politics, communal society, you name it, is a reminder of the fact of what happens when we do try to avenge ourselves, when we do try to get wrath for ourselves, when we don't love our enemies, when we don't feed them, when we don't give them something to drink. This is what happens when we are left to our own devices. We try to destroy each other and in the process accomplish no good. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no secret message in the Gospels. It's all there in black and white. It's really easy to read. God said, if you want the world to be a good world, if you want the world to be a decent world, if you want the world to be as it should, leave wrath to me. Leave vengeance to me. Leave your enemies to me. Instead, you live your life the best way you can. Live your life with love. Live your life with grace. Live your life with mercy. And in doing that, you will escape this world's circle of anger and venom and hatred and destruction. Because destruction only begets destruction. I don't know what's going to happen in 2020, and I'm not telling you who to vote for or who not to vote for. I'm simply saying this. As the world descends into a conflict of anger and hatred and wrathfulness and revenge, stand outside of it. Stand on the gospel. Stand on the message of God. Stand out here in the kingdom where we love those who hate us, and we feed those who are our enemies, and we leave the wrath to God. Well, thank you for spending lunch with me. I've been Pastor Russ Yoke, and this is LunchBox Devotions. Have a blessed rest of your day. Pastor Russ Yoke here. Thank you for spending some time with us today. If you'd like to subscribe, click on my face here on the upper right-hand corner. And if you'd like to see some more videos, click on the box here on the left-hand side. If you want to support the ministry we do here at First Lutheran, there are links in the comment section below. Thank you and God bless.